Ref Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video, wherever you are or whatever you may be doing. Thank you so much for making Ref Brandon and the Todd Family part of your day. We always greatly appreciate it. On here live here on this late Friday evening, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section down below. Make sure to give the video a like, a thumbs up. If you have not yet subscribed, please do so and share the video on all social media platforms. Good evening, Kevron. Glad to have you here, as always, and it's always a good day to be a Clemson Tiger fan. Hopefully, everybody is geared up for most people what is a 3-day weekend. Hey there, Marcus. Glad to have you back here on the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by on this Friday evening. As you can tell by the title of tonight's video, I've got a few words to say about somebody coming up here in a few minutes. But first, let me quickly say that the Braves, unless the game has ended in the last 45 seconds, they're still playing tonight. I was going to turn it on and try to watch it in the background while I did the video, but I knew I'd get distracted and be looking back at the TV the whole time, so I thought I won't do that. If it does end during the video, I'll go back and watch. But they're in extra innings, so it might go another hour, and I am not waiting that long to do a video. But right now they got a 9.5 game lead in the division, so still got a massive lead. The Phillies had it down to 7 earlier in the week, and now it's right back up to 9.5. Braves are still playing some amazing baseball, and it's funny because you don't want to rush the season because you love baseball and you want to watch how the season plays out, especially when the Braves are playing this good, to see, how many wins can Chris Sale get, how many wins can Bryce Elder get, how long can Iglesias go before he gives up a run, how many home runs can Matt Olson end up with. Those are things that you want to see play throughout the season, but at the same time, when you're playing this good, you want to go ahead and go to the playoffs to see if you can maybe win a World Series. Hey there, Jose. Glad to have you here on this Friday evening. So the Braves still playing amazing baseball, and hopefully Drake Baldwin won't be out more than 10 days. And Marcus just referenced it, but I think everybody's heard by now about Kyle Busch dying yesterday. Still no clear details as to exactly what happened. I can tell you what I think happened, and I can tell you what my prediction is on what happened, and I can also tell you what I think they're going to say, but that's all speculation. That's all guesses. That's all assumptions, so it does no good. All I know is it tells you always in my videos by telling everybody to tell each person how much you love them, because you just never know. And all my life, celebrity deaths, whether it's actual like music celebrity or TV celebrity, most of the time it doesn't bother me because I don't know these people personally. So when you don't know somebody, you're not close to them, so it's like, well, life goes on. But the Kyle Busch death hit me real hard. I think not because he's my favorite race car driver, but because he's the same age I am. Him and his wife been married about the same amount of time my wife and I have been married. He had an 11-year-old son. I've got a 12-year-old daughter. So a lot of similarities between Kyle Busch and myself. What else I thought was kind of not funny but strange is that you had Kyle Busch and Kobe Bryant. Both initials are KB. Both of them died at 41, and both of them wore number 8, whether it's a basketball jersey or a race car. So both KBs, both 41, and both had number 8 on whatever it was they wore or drove. Kind of shocking how things like that happen. But I do think they'll probably come out in about a week or so and tell you how he died. But I don't think they're going to be truthful on what they say. That's just my personal opinion. And when they do finally come out and tell you how he died, if they do, I'll tell you what I'm talking about, but I'm not going to say anything until they say. But I believe they're not going to be truthful. That's just my personal opinion. But one more thing before I get to the main topic. By the way, Jose, if you're new to the channel, feel free to give the video a like, a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, tell your friends, tell your family about the channel, and make sure you share the video on all social media platforms. A lot of times on Fridays I do videos called Fed Up Fridays. I don't do one all the time because there's just not a lot that I get fed up with in general. So if I was to do a Fed Up Friday video every week, it would be like one topic and the video would last 3 minutes. So I usually try to wait till I get like 7 or 8 things on my list of things I'm fed up with and do a video about all of them. But there's a couple of things that have struck me this week that I'll quickly mention. This can be a short Fed Up Friday video. By the way, anytime you're fed up with something, feel free to let me know in the comment section, whether it's a live video or a recorded video, because it don't matter how old you are, where you live, what you do for a living, your personality, none of that matters. We all have things that perturb us, and one thing might perturb you, and to somebody else it's not a big deal, and then something that perturbs them, to you it's not a big deal. We all get fed up with different things. But one thing I'm fed up with in general, and I'll use myself as an example, but it's not just me, it's anybody. If you've got a job, whether you work at a restaurant, whether you work in retail, whether you work at a business, it doesn't matter. If you work anywhere that has to deal with the public, 99% of the time you've got to wear some kind of, company required shirts or pants, and everybody has to wear a badge. That way everybody knows you work there. So when they see you, they know you work there. And it absolutely grinds my gears when somebody sees me at my job and they say, "Do you work here?" And I wish to God I could look at them and say, "No, I don't." Because I've never been to Cracker Barrel and seen somebody at Cracker Barrel sitting down eating, wearing a Cracker Barrel hat, a Cracker Barrel badge, a Cracker Barrel shirt, and a Cracker Barrel pants that didn't work there. If you're wearing company clothes, no matter what company it is, and you're wearing a company badge, no matter what company it is, you work there. And I say that because I'm just fed up in general, people being so stupid. I remember 20 years ago, 25 years ago, people were talking about technology, and they were like, "Man, this next generation, man, they're going to kick our butts. They're going to be so smart. 20 years, we're going to have flying cars and all this kind of stuff." And now here we are 20 years later with don't eat Tide Pods. So it seems like we're going backwards because they focus so much nowadays on book smarts and making sure you got book smarts that nobody has any common sense anymore. And I don't care how much book smarts you have. If you have no common sense, you're an idiot. Because if all you got is book smarts, if you ain't got a book in front of you, you're in trouble. And people are just so stupid now. Examples, I remember years and years and years ago when you could first go into a store and buy water. And I remember, going to the store, no matter where it was, and people buying water, and you hear the older people saying, "This is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. Why in the world would you sell water? And why would anybody buy water when it's free? Just drink it at home for free." And now here we are 20 years later, and people pay more for water than they do for a soda. And it just shows how stupid people are, because for years and years and years and years and years, people drink water out of a water hose, out of a water fountain, out of a water spigot, out of their water in their kitchen, and never thought twice about it. And now you got free water at home, but yet you go to a store and spend more for a 20-ounce bottle of water than you'll spend for a drink. And it just shows how stupid people are, because why do you need to buy water when it's free? But people still do it. Hey there, Jacob. Glad to have you here on this Friday night. And the older I get, the more fed up I get with people just being stupid. I remember when I was young, my mom and dad divorced when I was real little. So I never was that close to my dad. But I remember Mama always telling me, I can remember 6, 7 years old, Mama telling me, your dad had no patience with dumb people. And the older I get, the more I'm like he was. I cannot stand stupid people. Now, if you have something wrong with you, you can't help it, that's fine. But if you're just a flat out idiot, that absolutely drives me crazy. But the main thing tonight I want to talk about was, everybody knows I don't watch ESPN. Now, if it's football season and there's a football game on, I'll watch the football game if it's a good game. But as far as any of their shows, I don't, because for 10 years or more, all ESPN's done is trying to brainwash people and make you believe what they're saying is true, even though nothing they say is true. They try to brainwash you. So I don't watch it anymore. But sometimes I hear different things that, somebody on one of their shows has said, and I always shake my head. Now, I remember watching ESPN back when I was in high school, and them talking about, this is back in the BCS days, talking about college football needing a playoff. And this was before ESPN got in bed with the SEC, and it got worse over time, and it was always need a playoff. So ESPN was wanting a playoff 20 plus years ago, and now they finally got one, and then they said need more teams. Well, now they got more teams, and now they're saying, wait a minute, this playoff's a bad idea. We're not going to expand. We wouldn't have a playoff in the first place if ESPN kept their mouth shut. But what happened is ESPN got in bed with the SEC and knew the SEC wanted a playoff, so ESPN jumped on board and wanted a playoff. Well, now the SEC ain't won a championship in 3 years, and this past year they had 5 teams in the playoffs, so almost half the field, and still didn't win a national championship. So now ESPN looks and says, wait a minute, if we go to a 2014 playoff, there's going to be 8 or 9 teams in the SEC in the playoffs. And how bad are they going to be and going to look if they get 1/3 of the playoff bracket and they still don't win a national championship? So now ESPN's saying, wait a minute, we don't want to expand the playoffs. But earlier this week, apparently, Jaylen Brown of the Boston Celtics said something to Stephen A. Smith, or about Stephen A. Smith. And I heard on the radio, I think Wednesday morning, Stephen A. Smith's rebuttal, and he told Jaylen Brown that basically, I'm better than you, you'll never be me. And then one of the things Stephen A. Smith said was, you're trying to get recognition, so you brought up my name, you mentioned me. Stephen A. Smith tries to make everything about him, and he acts like he is God's gift to sports. And the man knows nothing about no sport except basketball. He knows a little about basketball, not like he thinks he does, but a little bit. But he is clueless on baseball and football. Absolutely clueless. But he thinks that an NBA player wants recognition, so they bring up Stephen A. Smith's name. And Stephen A. Smith is never going to be as well known as an NBA player. It's just not going to happen. But Stephen A. Smith makes everything about Stephen A. Smith. He let his little bit of fame go to his head, and he just gets worse and worse and worse. He's almost as bad as Paul Feinbaum. The only difference is Paul Feinbaum says stuff that most of the time Paul Feinbaum doesn't believe. He's just trying to be entertaining, and trying to get ESPN to love him because Paul Feinbaum makes money off the SEC. So without them, he's nothing. So he toots their horn like crazy just to keep a job, just to cater to the SEC fans because that's who's made Paul Feinbaum what he is. So Paul Feinbaum even knows what he says is not accurate, but he entertains the Southern football fans. He keeps doing it. Stephen A. Smith actually believes all or most of what he says. So they're both blowhards. The only difference is Paul Feinbaum does it for entertainment reasons, and Stephen A. Smith has become so arrogant he actually believes what he says. But anybody that believes and listens to anything Stephen A. Smith says is absolutely out of their mind. And it gets worse because he started out just on ESPN, but now he's got a show on Sirius XM too. So apparently somebody believes what he says. But if you believe what Stephen A. Smith says, you need your medulla checked. You got some serious, serious issues. Hey there, Devin. Glad to have you here on this Friday evening. And Devin, if you're new to the channel, for whatever reason made you stop tonight by the channel, thank you very much. Feel free to give the video a like, a thumbs up. If you have not yet subscribed, please do so and share the video on all social media platforms and tell your friends, tell your family about the channel. Let's go ahead and get our dad joke of the day in here. The starving artist is having trouble drawing a steady paycheck. And that does it for today's Ref Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video. Until next time, it's Ref Brandon saying, just like in pro wrestling, live over by the count of 3.